And so what I did, I studied, looked at all that stuff after college, and then started making montages. And as you can see, this is slightly pre-Photoshop. You might get that impression, which is true. So it's all done very crudely by going to a darkroom, making a print, and cutting it together. And then I got a job on a, and you can see that image, all right. And then I got a job on a very, I won't go into it, it's like crazy paper called Workers' Press, which is a Marxist Trotskyist paper, which was a daily paper. But they didn't actually have enough, they bought the most amazing press in Europe. It was enormous. And, but they only really printed about 15,000 copies, but they were expecting a revolution, you know, a proletarian revolution, so that the press could have printed 2 million overnight. But as it was, it printed about 15,000.
Whereabouts was that? Was it East London?
Clapham.
Clapham, right.
Clapham Central, yeah.
Well, did they have like a web press for newspaper production?
Yeah, but it was the most modern one in Europe. It was amazing, you know. Which was great for me because they, I went into the editorial meeting in the morning, and then I had to produce a picture by that evening, and so I also had to design the page, and they didn't have enough copy to fill this paper every day, so usually you have to fight if you're doing photography or imagery to get your images, but here they let me have whole centre spreads. So for this one, it's an image about torture. And at that time, there weren't images of torture like, horrifically enough, there are now with Abu Ghraib and all those horrendous pictures we've seen from Iraq that the soldiers photographed. So, so I went and I needed a picture of a scientist because they were involved in the torture. So I went to the Smithfield meat market and photographed a meat porter there. The first thing I could think of. And then stuck this head on. And
Did he ever know?
Hmm?
Did he ever know?
No, he never knew. No, but he can't see much of him. Right, I don't think he ever knew. And then stuck it on, and then it went to press that evening. So I went to, it was like being part of a production process, which is something that Benjamin also talked about. He talked about, I think, with the author as producer, that you go through the whole process. But here, I also had to go and sell the fucking paper in the evening as well. So I had to go around the pubs and find people drunk enough to buy it. So it was very much part of the production process, and then go to work the next day. So it was a great way to completely change my ideas of what it was to be an artist. You know, that when I went to art school, the idea was that you sit in your white space and you wait for these ideas to come from somewhere, wherever, and inspiration and all that. And suddenly, obviously the people on the newspaper didn't give a damn what my delicate feelings were. They just needed that picture by 6 o'clock that evening. So it's a much more,
Sorry,
for me...
Can I just interrupt to ask a question? So when you said you were sort of going to pubs and selling the newspapers, did you have any controversy or any people trying to fight back with you and argue with you over when you were trying to sell them?
Yeah, we did have a lot of argument because it was a very left-wing paper, and this was 1973, so it was a time of a lot of strikes and a lot of sort of political strife, so there were big arguments.
How did you deal with that? Because I know that I just wouldn't have the confidence to be doing that and sort of confronting all these people.
Are you sure you wouldn't?
Don't think
so. Yeah, well, I mean, it is a matter of having discussions. I mean, if you say anything on the street that isn't a commercial thing, you're liable to get some flack and anger from people. So I think it's just something that one puts up with.
yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was that one. That was as I say, they didn't have a lot of copies, so this was a very minor article about the cost of bacon going up, but they gave me a centre spread. So that was the Prime Minister at the time, Edward Heath, who most of you probably don't even know. And I went to the pig marketing board and got one of their photos of pigs and then just put it on. And it's a bit like, there's an image in, what's his name's film?
Lucky Man, isn't it?
Oh, Lucky Man, yeah, bits like that. But that became quite a popular image on sort of factory notice boards around the country. And then some of them, because people were seeing these things regularly, I could get into sort of doing quite, breaking up the photograph, which I was always been interested in. That's a documentary photograph by an amazing South African photographer called Ernest Cole at the top. And then this was another image I got hold of, and then I scratched it and sort of etched on it and broke it up. So I'm interested in that thing of an image not being about reality, but actually showing the sort of breaks in reality. And so one of the ways of doing that is to have different sorts of photography going on the same picture. And that was actually on the bench. You know, the apartheid regime in South Africa actually painted the street furniture with signs like that, and absolutely horrific regime. And that was another one from the same period. These were striking women. They were the first sort of Asian women workers who went on strike at a famous place called Grunwick, where there was a big demonstration. And they started picketing at 4 o'clock in the morning, and this was an advert for a perfume called 4 o'clock in the morning. So it's just bringing those two images together. And then this one, and you can see how crude it is, you know, like it's done with in a black and white dark room with a scalpel and what used to be called cow gum. I don't even know if they make it anymore. Everyone uses spray mount. So it's very crudely put together, which I actually like that. I think that's part of this sort of work, is that people can see that it's constructed. I don't try and hide it and smooth it out and make it like the adverts, because these things are, to me, the opposite of adverts. And that was done at the time of the miners' strike. And this one was this image here is of a stamp that was made, I can't remember the year when Blair Peach, in 79. Anyway, they made commemorative stamps showing how lovely the Metropolitan Police Force were. There were 5 stamps. And it was the same year that Blair Peach, who was an anti-fascist campaigner who was walking away from a demonstration and the Special Patrol Group police came out their van and smashed him on the head and he died. It was the same time that these stamps came out. So with an image like this, I just bring the two things together to make a connection. And that's Blair Peach there, and these are magnifying glasses, which is a basic sort of trope of montage, that you have like a window and you put something else into the window. It's something that an artist called Martha Rossler has done a lot. And then that was in a book that time. So all these things, I do them, and then after leaving that paper, I only managed to survive there about less than a year, so I couldn't stand the politics. It was crazy, but I then just made work and then sent it out to as many different places as possible.